There's a simple rule in politics. Never ever be surprised by what happens in politics.
The face of truth is open. The eyes of truth are bright. The lips of truth are ever closed. The head of truth is upright. The breast of truth stands forward. The gaze of truth is straight. Truth has neither fear nor doubt. Truth has patience to wait. The words of truth are touching. The voice of truth is deep. The law of truth is simple. All you sow, you reap. The soul of truth is flaming. The heart of truth is warm. The mind of truth is clear and firm through rain and storm. Facts are only its shadow. Truth stands above all sin. Great be the battle of life. Truth in the end shall win. The image of truth is the cross. Wisdom's message is its rod. The sign of truth is Christ, and the soul of truth is God. Life of truth is eternal. Immortal is its past. Power of truth shall endure. Truth shall hold to the last.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living room. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
The U.S. is considering imposing a travel ban on St. Lucia among a number of other countries, and we continue to focus on the problems impacting road users in St. Lucia and pertaining to specifically stray cattle in various parts of the island, but in particular in the Shock area. Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the world's most monitored talk show, NewsSpin on Power 97.9 FM. The broadcast is also on the NewsSpin Facebook page as well as the NewsSpin YouTube channel. We go up until 2 o'clock this afternoon. Later, your calls at 452-2979, 452-2979, along with your WhatsApp calls and messages, 716-2026, 716-2026. Amanda is off today, so we are leaving you to your own devices as far as your behavior in the chat room. We hope that you will comport yourself in a very mature and responsible manner. So I'll be monitoring from time to time, but I'm not too certain that I'll be able to go through those comments in the chat room. That is a task that is monumental, could be monumental. But anyway, we hope you're having yourself an enjoyable Monday and you had a great weekend. So life in this world of ours, particularly with Trump at the helm of the United States, is in a state of flux. On a daily basis, you just do not know what to expect because he's so mercurial. You know, you just can't predict how that individual will conduct of his country. In June, just a few months later, and the Washington Post, reputable media outlet out of the United States, is reporting that the U.S. is considering expansion of its travel ban to include St. Lucia, also Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, and St. Kitts, Nevis, as well as a number of other countries in Africa, Central Asia, and the Pacific. And that is according to a memo that was signed by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Now, it lists some of the concerns. The sale of citizenship without a residency requirement, that was flagged as a major issue. Also, alleged government fraud, accusations of anti-American activity by nationals residing in the United States. And the memo has set a deadline of 8 a.m. on Wednesday of this week for the affected governments to submit an initial plan outlining how they intend to meet the new requirements. But this is where it gets ridiculous. It also suggests that countries willing to accept third country nationals deported from the U.S. or to enter what is described as a safe third country agreement may be to deport persons who are living in the United States illegally, or maybe they have broken the law or just decided to consider those people to be undesirable elements that should not be in the U.S. And those people are not citizens of St. Lucia. If St. Lucia were to say, well, we'll accept those people that you're deporting, then the United States can decide to reduce the risk of sanctions. For me, that is a no-no. And I hope that not only St. Lucia, but the other countries that are cited will band together. I think already CARICOM countries have told Washington that they will do no such thing. But let us not disregard the other issues, the other concerns by the United States. And that would include the sale of CIP, Citizenship by Investment Program, the sale of such passports through that program. And also the security concerns that the U.S. might have, because we have a tendency in this part of the world to be so carefree, to be so relaxed, to the point that, you know, it's almost laughable that if you are in countries like St. Lucia, but the U.S. would treat issues of that nature with great seriousness, one seriousness that is definitely warranted. And as a result of even the admission by the U.S., the Caribbean, and St. Lucia in particular, somewhat deciding that it had to revisit the CIP program and also to ensure that it was strengthened in terms of the due diligence that they have been boasting about. Because you can tell yourself that you are taking all the necessary steps and actions. But if the U.S. says that it is not satisfied, remember, it's not an ordinary citizen that is scolding the Philip J.P. administration as far as its handling of CIP. It would be the Americans who are doing the tough talking and who are saying that they expect certain things to be done. All of a sudden, as was announced by Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre about a year ago, action would be taken. And in a minute, we'll be hearing from the St. Lucia Prime Minister, because he did issue a statement in 2024. And that is, St. Lucia proposes changes to the Citizenship by Investment Program. And I hope on this particular occasion, in all seriousness, the Prime Minister, when and if he addresses the St. Lucian public on this latest U.S. issue, he will be a statesman. He will emerge as a statesman and not as a politician. because it is the U.S. that is taking, threatening or planning to take whatever action against St. Lucia and the other territories. It is not any citizen of this island. It is not any opposition politician. It is the United States. And therefore, action taken by the United States will have implications for all of us. I'm talking about a possible travel ban being imposed on this country. Business people will be severely impacted. Persons wanting to travel to the United States for medical reasons will be affected. You are talking about persons who want to, yes, as I said earlier, as well as study, go to school, further their education, they will be severely impacted. So that is why governments, in this case, our government of St. Lucia, whatever action it decides to take, it has to take those things into consideration, the implication for the wider population. You are not governing this country for your sake. You are ensuring that you do what is required, that you give special thought to certain decisions that you take because of the possible negative implications for the citizens, the ripple effect. Let us hear from Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre 1 year ago, and he's making reference there to St. Lucia proposing changes to the CIP.
After careful review and extensive discussions with stakeholders and other OECS heads of government with CIP programs, the government of St. Lucia announces that it has decided to sign the Memorandum of Agreement, MOA, already signed by other OECS CIP countries. The memorandum calls for common standards and procedures in the following areas: pricing, information sharing and transparency standards, regulation, security screening and framework, regulation of agents, marketing and promotion of programs, joint training and capacity building, dispute resolution, amendment and termination. In addition to signing this memorandum, St. Lucia has made further suggestions to strengthen this regional agreement, including proposing legislative changes to address change of name requests. This has been agreed to by other heads of government. After consultations are completed with regional governments and other partners, the government of St. Lucia will suggest further strengthening of the CIP program. This would include an annual quota, a net worth for applicants, escrow accounts to be held in St. Lucia or in individual islands, a requirement that only licensed promoters will be allowed to submit applicants to local authorized agents, and those promoters will have to submit a due diligence report on each applicant. Over the last year, the Citizenship by Investment Unit in St. Lucia has instituted all 6 principles agreed to with the United States government. From February 15, 2023, a ban on applicants from Russia and Belarusians. From September 4, 2023, implemented applicant interviews. From September 4, 2023, vetting of all applicants through the local Financial Intelligence Authority. From January 2020, sharing of denials with the Joint Regional Communication Center, JRCC. An operational review of the program by international consultancy firm will commence shortly. The St. Lucia CIP unit will seek international support with the recovery of revoked passports. Additionally, the St. Lucia CIP unit publishes an annual report that is tabled in Parliament, which includes financial statements. Furthermore, the fee structure for different options are published in the official gazette. The government of St. Lucia remains committed to maintaining and reinforcing the integrity of its CIP program with a transparent and accountable process that delivers tangible benefits to all St. Lucians.
The island's Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre speaking to reporters last year during a pre-cabinet press briefing and stating some of the changes that his administration would have undertaken to ensure that the due diligence that they've been speaking about, that is certainly in effect and even improved as far as the issuing of passports to persons who want to purchase, who want to obtain them via the Citizenship by Investment program. So with the talk of U.S. considering expansion of its travel ban to include St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica and St. Kitts and Nevis, and a number of other countries, those in Africa, Central Asia, and the Pacific. What are the implications? I referenced some of them, but let's see if we can speak with someone who can provide us with his take, observations on this particular development. Social commentator and chartered accountant, Mr. Richard Pitterkin, is on the line. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Hi, Timothy.
Hi.
I'm in my car. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. The reception is good.
Okay.
Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with us. So, your take on the actions that are proposed, that is threatened by the United States, considering expansion of its travel ban to include St. Lucia?
Well, Timothy, what I know is pretty much what everybody has read. I'm not privy to any additional information. I haven't seen, the correspondence that was sent to government. I haven't seen any response from government. So I can only go on what I've seen. But, I did read it was leaked, but it's become almost common news now. So just a couple of quick takes. I've never been a fan of CIP programs, no matter how robust our due diligence and vetting is. I accept that it produces a lot of money for government, and we need that. But sometimes it feels like we're prostituting ourselves to people that have no real care for the development of our country. And in addition, it seems to have attracted a whole bunch of slimy external marketing agents desperate for commissions, and a lot of bad actors whose only interest is to take advantage of visa-free Schengen access or fast access to the US and Canada. And like anybody else, I've read all the concerns that people have raised about potential corruption, lack of transparency, potential abuse. These are not new. I've heard the same about St. Kitts, Dominica, Antigua, and clearly it gives you an indication that this is a program that, it is. You have to be so careful about, and in the absence of transparency, you're going to get that kind of accusation. But at the same time, people's concerns about, that is why the U.S. is doing what it's doing. I don't actually feel that is the only reason. That may be a reason. I can't say for sure. But the thing that we all know is that even if you have a St. Lucia passport, you still have to apply for a visa to go to the United States. And their vetting, their due diligence is probably even more robust than ours. So, if we have a CIP program, that by itself is not enough to worry the U.S. that it's going to result in a bunch of strange bad actors coming to their country. And they haven't said that. And they're not targeting St. Lucia. They've mentioned a bunch of CIP countries, except for Grenada. And that makes you wonder. And, when you start to read between the lines, it tells you that essentially the U.S. is, this is not unusual for that regime in the States. Mr. Trump is known by the acronym TACO now, which is Trump always chickens out, because he comes out with accusations and threats and whatnot. And then when the time comes, or the deadline comes, he changes his mind and comes up with a different result. And we've seen that so many times now. And the thing that seems to have an impact on him is when what he is saying that he's going to do affects either well-heeled supporters. For example, the recent thing in LA, where he's now saying that if you are a good immigrant on the farms or in the hotel industry, you won't be sent back. I mean, after having said he's going to send everybody back. Now, if you read the memo, one of the things you see, and that's down, towards the end, it clearly says that if a country was willing to accept third country nationals who were removed from the United States or enter a safe third country agreement, it could mitigate their concerns. Now, I know they have come to all the CARICOM countries from his inauguration and said, "Are you willing to take these third country nationals that we are deporting because we need to find a place to send them because in some cases their country won't take them back?" And most of the CARICOM countries kind of said, no, thank you. They didn't kind of, throw it in his face. They just said, no, we'd prefer not to. The only one who said yes was El Salvador. So right now, the only place that the U.S. can send people, and they're rounding up more and more every day, is Guantanamo, which is the next. But here they are saying that even if we have concerns with your CIP, even if we're getting a bunch of bad actors applying for U.S. visas, if in fact you are prepared to enter in an agreement to accept these safe third-party deportees, it will mitigate our concerns. What does that tell you? That seems to be the rationale for what they're doing and saying. And we have to be careful because clearly we have no cards to play. There's nothing we can do. If the U.S. had said that if you don't do this, we'll do that, we can't say, well, we'll retaliate. We can't. There's nothing we can do. I mean, some people say, oh, build another borderlay somewhere and bring in all the third-party nationals if that's what it takes. But, having been forced to make adjustments every time, it's embarrassing. It's humiliating sometimes for us. And I certainly don't support what the U.S. is doing. And I believe that, there's probably a lot more we can do to make our CIP programs more transparent so that it doesn't lead to conspiracy theories. But at the end of the day, as I say, CARICOM can't do anything. We can do very little. We stand to lose so much because 60% of our tourists come from the States. 50% of our foreign direct investment comes from the States. And the only saving grace is the fact that, like Grenada, we are now getting a lot of U.S. private investment. Take Cabot as an example of that. And to that extent, these people would be concerned if they're saying, well, look, St. Lucia really hasn't done anything different. I mean, but, it's going to affect our investment in St. Lucia if you do these things. And these are well-heeled people. It could well be something that you might say, all right, well, just give us a few, show us something that suggests that, in fact, the program is safe and you're doing all your vetting and so on. So there's quite a lot of time to deal with this. There's no need to panic. And I don't believe it's targeted at St. Lucia.
But Mr. Bittigan, what if he decides to impose that travel ban on St. Lucia? What are the implications?
Horrendous. Because, I mean, for me personally, the fact that I would not be able to go to see my grandchildren and child and his wife, I just don't know. There's nothing I can do, but I mean, it would be horrible. Think of all the students that go up to the States all the time. Think of, all of the, the U.S. is now kind of our favorite destination, all the trade. But most of that trade is in tourism. It's not in merchandise. So that, for example, the 10% tariff that we are frankly going to have to pay means nothing to us because it only affects a small percentage of the exports that we have. But most of our trade with the States is in services, and tourism is the biggest. So if, in fact, he was to impose a travel ban, I mean, it would mean that it would have such a serious impact, not only on our own people and the things they would like to do and now can't do, but even on people who are thinking of traveling to St. Lucia. And believe you me, I mean, the rest of the world is not going to, they're going to say they don't like it, but there's not much they can do. And there's not much we can do to retaliate. And there are countries around us and in the world that would happily take all those tourists that don't come to our shores. So from that point of view, it's very concerning. It's a serious thing. But as I say, there's no need to panic because, there are a huge number of countries that were included. None of them are Muslim. None of them are countries that are in war or things like that. And it's just, the U.S. is just beginning one by one to hit. They want bilateral agreements with everybody. And in those bilateral agreements, they're pretty much saying, you need us, you need our services, you need our market, you need our tourists. And so therefore, a few things that we want you to do, we're going to make it very difficult for you. And they can. So from that point of view, we have to sit up and take notice. We have to go and negotiate. We don't have to kiss the ring, but at least we have to say, well, look at all the things that we are doing. And in the case of the CIP, the vetting that we do, for example, we use U.S. companies to do that due diligence. So it's not as if we are just, using some fly-by-night type, countries. There are some islands in our region that have not been serious enough. But I believe, I don't know for sure, I'm not involved in CIP. I've never been on a board or anything like that. But I've known people, Randy Ho, for example, when he was chairman, and I had a long chat with him, and he told me all that they do to vet these, potential applications. So, while I believe that we need to control some of the marketing that is done and some of the people that have been doing it, we need to restrict that to a greater extent. We need to be more transparent as to how the money is used and account for, 100% of it. But I don't think that what we have done is what's causing this U.S. threat.
With regard to its own actions, the St. Lucia government, how do you think the St. Lucia government should react to this particular situation? Because as much as saying we should not panic, we have to be very concerned about such a possibility.
One of the concerns I have, and this is about all governments, is that you read about these things in the, on the internet. And clearly, this is a memo that must have been sent to our government weeks ago. This is not overnight. It's been leaked, but now it's become common knowledge. So my only question is, why has there been no at least indication of, okay, folks, by the way, we got this memo. We are studying it. We've had early discussion. You know what I mean? There's just been no response, and it's disappointing in a way, because I know you can't come out and say, here's what we're going to do, because you can't. And neither can you say, well, but you can at least give some indication that, look, we don't believe that the CIP program is the problem. We have in fact addressed it. We are in discussion. It's not enough to just meet with OECS heads or meet with CARICOM. You need to talk to the people who are bringing the threat in the first place, as we have seen. And if you don't do that, then it could end up being worse than it pretends to be. But as I say before, Mr. Trump has this tendency to say and threaten and bully, and then when the time comes, pull back for any reasons, as long as he's happy that he got what he wanted.
Any final comments from you, sir?
Not really. I say, this is not going to be the first thing. We have so much to lose in our tourism. He could, for example, say, look, when your St. Lucians come to the U.S., they don't pay any departure tax. They come in, once they have a visa, they come in and they stroll around the country for free. And when our people come to your shores, you charge you get all kinds of taxes and fees and whatnot. So I want to kind of level the playing field. There's so many ways that can get at us that we need to be very careful, because we're in a different era now.
All right, so thank you so much for speaking with us on this afternoon's NewsSpin program.
You're welcome, Tim.
All right, just heard there from social commentator and a chartered accountant, Mr. Richard Pitterkin. Let's take your calls right now at 452-2979, 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages, 716-2026. Again, 716-2026. And let us see if we have a call via WhatsApp. Hello and good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
I am okay, sir. How about you?
I am good. Is this NewsSpin?
Yes, it is. And you are on the air.
All right, perfect. So I just wanted to kind of call and comment about what you're talking about. And yes, I am calling from the U.S. and I have a little bit of information that I want to share with your listening public in regards to the impending or possible travel ban restriction, however you want to put it. So just kind of for information purposes, security is not the only reason why the current ban from the U.S. is in place. For some countries, it is security, but for others, it is a high level of overstay. That's something that we as St. Lucians need to be cognizant of, because I do believe that one of the things the U.S. government is currently doing is running numbers to see from certain countries what percentage of their folks are overstaying. So we have not received any official word from the government stating whether they were contacted by the U.S. government. In fact, the last time I heard that they said they were not. So I think that's something we need to consider in addition to the security concerns, especially as it relates to CIP, that we as St. Lucians also need to play our part and make sure that we are not contributing to our own demise in terms of traveling and not complying with regulations. So I just thought I wanted to share this with you because I know a lot of the skepticism that comes surrounding what's going on. People may not be aware that it's not just security, so it's not just the government's responsibility, but we also have an individual responsibility that if we are visiting a country for a specific purpose, that we adhere to the laws and watch, the levels of those overseas. I mean, every country has it, so I don't know where we fall as a country, but that's something I wanted people to be aware of.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for calling from the United States. We continue with your calls and your WhatsApp messages. We have another call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. You are on the air.
Hi, good afternoon, Tim. Thanks
yes, sir.
Very much for allowing me to speak.
You're welcome.
I was listening to one of your last calls, I think Mr. Peterkin.
Yes.
And I am not very encouraged by his pronouncements. If I remember clearly, this was the same gentleman who suggested that what I think has now come to be known as the fraudulent 2.5% levy, that would be negligible and that would not really affect St. Lucians in any way, or that was not going to be something really onerous on people. And come to find out months later that he was not just wrong, but that he was catastrophically wrong, and that the economy and the layman continues to suffer and struggle under that 2.5% levy. And to now have him prognosticate on international affairs and whether or not we should be concerned about these major international affairs. I personally, people could do what they wish, but I would say I would not put much stock in what Mr. Peterkin has had to say so far. I do think, though, that the current government, and if the opposition is to find its space in government later, that both of those need to be thinking really carefully about what St. Lucia is going to look like, what our economy is going to look like under a Donald Trump presidency. We have seen a presidency that is not very predictable, that is also very difficult to understand and difficult to follow. And we need to not be reactively thinking about strategies to adjust to Donald Trump, knowing what he has done in his previous administration and how he's been functioning now. We should be actively seeking solutions, preemptively seeking solutions to issues that might arise later down the road. And I think the suggestion that this is not, we don't have a ton to worry about, I think is a flawed suggestion and might come back to bite us. So I would not put much stock into that. Thanks very much, Tim.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for your contribution. Some more calls, once again, 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages, 716-2026. Somebody says there via WhatsApp, it might be very interesting to ask Mr. Frank Myers for a comment. And I'm sure if Mr. Frank Myers is listening, I hope he's listening to the broadcast or even monitoring the show, he can also call as well. All right, we have another call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Tim.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon to you.
How are you?
I'm okay. How about you?
Home alone today? Not too bad.
Yes, Amanda.
Home alone today?
Amanda is off today. She's taking the day off.
Oh, okay.
What's on your mind?
Right. Tim,
Mm-hmm.
you remember I've always been against that CIP selling of passports. I always call you and talk about that.
Yes.
You understand? I think governments, whether it's SLP or UWP, they need to find other sources of revenue. This thing, I will say it again, is an avenue for corruption. It's not good. It's spoiling our reputation because of the way it's being done. And I think the best thing to solve that is to stop. Already, they have sold how many passports, Tim? That we know of. About how many that we know of?
Hundreds of passports.
Do you have a figure?
I don't have an exact figure, but hundreds of passports.
Okay, because for every one they sell, if the family has 4, everybody's included.
Yes.
So sometimes when they tell you it's 1, you know how it is. 1 unit is like. Mm-hmm. So the amount of passports they've sold, especially to the Chinese and stuff like that, I think for now, this program needs to be discontinued. It's not going right for us. And I don't know why this government in particular is so stubborn. They are aware, they know, but for whatever reason, they still want to continue. And I'm calling on the opposition, if and when you all win the election, cut this thing off completely and find other sources of revenue. That's all I have to say to team on this.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your point of view with us. Let me see if I have any of your WhatsApp messages to go through at this time. Somebody says there, I think Mr. Pitakin is wrong about the tourism sector. It will be drastically affected, and Americans still has the liberty to travel to St. Lucia freely. Also, the taxes imposed on China will affect our merchants. We do buy China goods from the U.S. If we buy directly from China, we will not be affected since our goods will be in transit in the United States. And let's see if we have another WhatsApp message to go through. Somebody says there, that caller had no idea. He does not have any idea what he's talking about regarding the ban. And incidentally, that contribution is coming from Mr. Philippe Martinez. Another call. Good afternoon. NewsSpin, you're on the air. Hello. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hi. Good afternoon, Tim.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to you, caller.
I'd just like to concur with the last caller. Thing when Dr. King went into fruition, I was really, against that program, and it's just sad. It just feels like prostitution on steroids. And yes, people will tell you we will put this against, we will do that measure to safeguard the people of our country. But at the end of the day, when money is involved and people are giving people red envelopes and white envelopes under the counter, the population takes a back seat. These politicians don't put us, in their interest. They don't look at us and think of, how is this going to affect us in the future. You're looking at the European Union, you're looking at the US. I mean, this thing, our passport has very good ranking. I mean, it can be better, but it has very good ranking. We have, access to the European Union and so many other regions. And we're just throwing it all for what? A few people coming in, they spend that money, and then who knows, we may have to go back and spend much more money in the future, maybe to maintain them, most probably medical-wise, most probably so much things that we would probably have to put in place for the little bit of money that we're getting today. I think, the opposition, again, like the lady said, has to really think this thing over, and we have to put a stop to it. Until we cannot put a framework in place whereby any passport that is given, it's on a website, there is transparency, there is freedom of information, that any passport that is given, because these people have the same rights as you and I, they're not second citizens, they're just like us. They have the rights to do everything that we have to do. You understand? But what is the ramifications of this sort of programs? And people can say what they want, but the islands that are targeted are those islands that have the CIP program. So at the end of the day, people can cry, they can jump high, they can jump low. This is one of the main reasons why that is happening to us, and we need to be very careful. People can say, tourism will not be impacted, but at the end of the day, tourists are not the only one utilizing the airlines. And if an airline realizes, okay, we have 6 flights a week coming to an island, let's say JetBlue, 6 flights a week coming to an island, this island now, the citizens cannot travel to our country, to our source markets. At the end of the day, what is the impact on our business? Yes, the tourists may be coming, but with people going up and down, it also helps with the seats being filled, because at the end of the day, all the airline is interested in is their seats being filled, and that they'll be able to cover their overheads. So they now may move from 6 to maybe 5. They may move from 5 to 3. Look at Virgin Atlantic already pull out. So what is this really going to do for our tourism product? We have to think, and we have to raise our standards. We cannot be on every whim, taking every single thing that comes out there and feel that we'll make it into a cash cow. At the end of the day, we have to think out of the box. Remember, we are a country with 2 Nobel laureates. We have smart people. Let us think and do things that can work for our people, and let us not Let's stop taking this handout nonsense. It needs to stop. Thank you, Tim.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. 716-2026. UltraMed Health Services is a trusted provider of comprehensive medical care, offering a wide range of services from urgent care, laboratory services, and advanced ultrasound diagnostics. UltraMed Health Services in Rodney Bay, behind the B5.
Ni un petit commission qui kaywen de ou protéger la vie ou ekte ou. Kouye lou silek avant ou monter l'échelle. Fait asiwe l'échelle, scaffold ek bout zouti ou ka servi, pa vini mwens ki 10 pieds hod limit de wò kote ki hod lou silek.
Keep an eye due off guard. At MNC Home Depot through the storm. Don't wait until it's too late. Visit MNC Home Depot in Sunbelt today and make sure your family is safe and secure this hurricane season. Play it safe. Get prepared.
It's the energy of we people, something pulsing inside. It beating every soul, a feeling we cannot hide. It's always pushing us forward, the limit up in the sky. There's rhythm in how we flow, a rhythm that can't be denied. It's in the feeling in how we talk. It's in the meaning in our spark. It is the thing that sets us apart. Who we are, 'cause the rhythm of life keeps pumping.
Why suffer in silence? At La Clinique de Corps, an approved universal healthcare clinic, you now have direct access to a team of internationally trained specialists from the US, France, Cuba, Venezuela, and more right here in St. Lucia. We treat chronic pain, sciatica, arthritis, lupus, nerve damage, carpal tunnel, and more with precision and care. We also offer advanced diagnostic nerve testing to detect hidden issues early before they become serious. All health insurances accepted. We assist you every step of the way. Call 451-6559 or WhatsApp 721-9950 today. La Clinique de Corps, where healing begins.
Essie, don't tell me that tire flat again. I just changed that tire.
Wait, what? You just changed that tire?
Well, I bought a used one because you didn't give me enough money.
Oh, I see. Well, you know what? Chivi's Tire Shop only carry brand new quality tires at affordable prices with free installation.
Hey, it seems you're working at Chivi's Tire Shop. How you know all that?
Come on, Brenda. The tire shop down the road from our home in the American Drywall Building.
Oh, yes. I forgot. Well, you know what, Patrick? Let's go there right now. Take your wallet. Let's go.
Chivi's Tire Shop, located at the American Drywall Building, Vic Bouteille. Call or WhatsApp 584-5986. Chivi's Tire Shop. Pay less, drive more.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
This is the most monitored talk show where we continue with your calls at 452-2979, 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Somebody says people are talking about something they have no inside information of. It's all about the thousands of CIP passports sold to Chinese and other countries in the Middle East. Tim, this is only the beginning. And that's a contribution being made there by Philippe Martinez. We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Tim, it seems our friend, Mr. Richard Peterkin, your friend and mine, is going to...
What would make you reach that conclusion, sir?
Conclusion, sir. Did you know that Richard had reservations about the CIP program?
No, I'm not aware of that.
How come?
Well, when he made that point a while ago, it was news to me because I was saying that's the very first time I'm hearing that he had those reservations about the CIP. So
now,
if he had them then, but they were not communicated, they were not made public.
Well, I think it's suffice to say we now know he had reservations, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, I think probably most people right now would have those reservations too, wouldn't they? Right
No, because if you initially did not have any reservations, I guess by now you'd be concerned about how the authorities would have handled the CIP program. Because the program is
good point.
The program is not necessarily a bad program, but it's how it's handled.
Very, very right. Now, the former Prime Minister had reservations too, didn't he?
Which former Prime Minister? Dr. Kenny Anthony?
Yeah.
Yes, he had. And also Dr. Fletcher.
Wait, please. When
Dr.
did
Fletcher
we find
too.
that out, Tim?
After the fact. After he...
Well, he's the one. He's the one
who launched it.
Who went into the program.
Yes. And he did so in Morocco.
No, not only that. I'm saying here. He's the one who went into who decided to go into the program. And he was Prime Minister.
Yes.
And it's Von Lewis who put it out and persuaded
who headed the committee.
Everybody, it was our last chance to survive.
Yes.
Because everything had dried on all sources.
And for me, Rick, and I've said that before, that lacked originality. Set up an entire committee, entire body. You meet over a few weeks and months, and then that is what you're proposing, something that is not original.
Well, Tim, it's always good to look in the rearview mirror. You can't keep your eye there only, but you have every now and again to look at that rearview mirror. And that's what I keep on doing. Some people call it holding up the mirror to people's faces. So Kenny Anthony, the Prime Minister, who introduced the program to us, right?
Yes.
With a lot of persuasive talk, including stuff put out by Von Lewis, a respectable former Prime Minister as well, persuaded us that it was our last lifeline. Because that's how it came out, not Tim. But everything else where our source of assistance and aid had dried up. He said that, you know.
Yes, he did. He did.
Of course. So we almost were being told either we go for that or we die. There's nothing left. Okay? So it turns out that the Prime Minister, who in effect persuaded the country that we had no other way to go, it turns out that he says in Parliament he always had reservations about that program. And he said that also with a warning to Alan Chasney, who was then Prime Minister, don't put too much faith in this thing because it's going to blow up. It's not there for long. You remember that?
Yes, I can recall. Yes, I did.
It's good for me. I know I like to ask you that, and it probably is boring to you when I keep saying, do you remember that? But it is what I'm doing there is validation for those people out there who may think Rick Wynn is just talking again. So I like the validation. And when you don't know, I always have the dates and time and whatever to help you. So we had two prime ministers who well, now 3. Oh, 4. We've had 4 prime ministers. Alan was there too. All of those guys made the CIP program our last hope in one degree or another, right?
Yes.
Now, the matter, and it was very interesting as well, that Richard Peterkin said one of the problems he had with the CIP program is that we are prostituting ourselves. I wrote it down.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, you taking that? Like we're talking about water.
I'm following you, Rick. I'm following you.
I want to underscore.
You mean I supposed to come across as big? I'm so shocked. I'm stunned. I'm worried. I'm concerned. I am.
Well,
I have a deep interest in what you're saying.
Good. Allow me to pull your leg, Tim.
That's risky.
Sometime when John Compton was there, I interviewed him once about whether we were going to go with the Taiwan or Beijing or what's it?
Taipei. Mm-hmm.
And his answer, Tim, unforgettably, was whoever gives us more money, whoever we can get most from. And I looked at him, and he a very hip guy. I said, "There's a word for that, Sir John." He said, "What do you mean, prostitutes?" But we are. You remember that?
Yes.
But we are prostitutes. Compton said that, Now, what I was telling you, what I got from that is he's not enjoying the idea that we are prostitutes. He would prefer we work hard. He would prefer we were educated. He'd prefer a lot of different things. But our circumstances, for one reason or another, I'm not going to go into that now. That'll take all day. We are effectively prostitutes begging everywhere and selling ourselves.
Yeah, but
now,
if you have, but Rick, if you have your dignity, and still talking about
that's right.
If you have your dignity and you're a prostitute, at some
you
point
try to
in
hold
time,
yourself up. You appear.
Yeah, at some point in time, whatever monies that you would have raised through that particular activity, you would want to put it to use that that will see you as somebody who has developed, who is an upstanding citizen, etc. As opposed to continuing
you're way ahead of me
to be
on
a
that
prostitute.
one, because I wanted to deal with the fact that some of us don't mind being prostitutes at all. The point is we are a poor country. Sometimes we have to take things we're not so keen on, but at the same time we should be seen to be doing something to affect our status as prostitutes.
Yes.
Nobody likes being prostitutes. Even prostitutes can't wait to retire. They all dream that they're going to, it's a wild dream. Even real prostitutes hope they can put money away so that in 4 years' time they'll have their own hairdresser salon. I met people like that in Las Vegas, Tim. High-class prostitutes, and I wasn't talking to them as a John. I was just discussing this as an article, okay? Yeah. And these people are high-class, playing at all the hotels and so on. And I get into discussing those people, and almost to a woman, all of them were telling me they had no plans to stay in this, that they were going. That is what prostitutes say, that they're not going to stay. So out here, we can acknowledge quietly that what we're doing there amounts to prostitution, as Sir John said, and as Peterkin has just said. But it would be kind of ameliorating. It would give us a little something of dignity if it seemed we were trying our best to get out of prostitution as a way of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't.
That's because, Rick, that's because we're not doing the hard work in terms of sitting and understanding what is happening to our country and coming up with, because, even early on somebody said, we're the country which produced 2 Nobel laureates. As if that signifies that automatically we have a font of knowledge. People with a lot of knowledge in the country are very creative and who are selfless
for me,
and
Jim,
all about development and so on. It means nothing. It doesn't mean much that we have
me,
2 Nobel laureates.
For me, if I were going to say, look, man, we have 2 Nobel laureates, I would want to see the rest of the population not Nobel laureates, but they have something which kind of explains that Derek Walcott and
Arthur Lewis
Sir Arthur were not miracles.
Mm-hmm.
That there were people behind who could be that, as we excel at this, like Alfred, we can have athletes. We are people like any people anywhere else in the world, Tim. What we want is opportunity for people to excel, opportunity to push their potential. But here's the point. My next question regarding Richard Frederick's late observation that we are prostitutes.
Richard Pitterkin.
What did I say?
Richard Frederick.
What? It's Freudian slip. Anyway.
Oh, senile moment.
No, that brain ain't got nothing senile, boy. Unless I want to pretend it is.
Yeah.
Are we prostitutes, Tim? Or did we inadvertently or advertently elect pimps?
Maybe that's
do we have a bunch of politicians who are effectively pimps that pimp us out? Because the people, as Ralph Gonzalez said, and it's not the program, you were saying a little while ago, it's not the program per se that's the problem. It is the conduct of the program. It's the processes that all have little loopholes and holes that the average person can't see. And all the, like I said, we the people ought to know the important factors involved with selling our passports, because it's not any CIP program. It is the selling of passports that's going on. That's another thing we have to acknowledge. How many factories we have here? That's because that's what Vaughan was selling. We're going to have factories. We're going to have this. We're going to have that. Okay? We have the projects we have. Most of those I know are looking like white elephants. Canals?
Yeah.
What's the other one?
You have the DSH in Vieux-Fort.
And the other one, was that a CIP program as well? The bird sanctuary.
No, but the GPH was, the DSH, sorry, was not a CIP program, eh?
No, I know.
Okay.
Well, exactly.
All right.
You said it.
Yeah, it's not a CIP program.
Okay. So what appears to be CIP connected are effectively white elephants, and we know nothing about them. How they got there, why are they white elephants? We don't know, and we like it so, because we are prostitutes pimped out. Pimped out. Our governments are pimps. You cannot have prostitutes who and they're working or not working or whatever is coming to them and not have pimps. And the pimps are the ones reportedly making a ton of money. Typically, it's not the prostitute who makes the money, it's the pimp.
Yeah.
Think about that. If we are prostitutes, and Sir John has observed we are prostitutes, and Richard has observed we are prostituting ourselves, which is not quite correct, and Richard could have put it properly. Our elected people are pimps. And we are their prostitutes because we are making money for them. We don't care that integrity that does not work. We don't care that we pay a ton of money to a guy brought specifically. Now they want to change that. The law may say corruption, but we were told we were going to bring in a special prosecutor for the special investigation of Guy Joseph, who was such a part of the election campaign, and also Alan Sassney, that these two guys were deep in corruption, and it necessitated going past the laws we have, past the police, past the DPP's office. We wanted a guy whose sole job was to bring up the evidence and whatnot to prepare to have people jailed. Am I exaggerating?
No, you're not, Rick.
That is what we tolerated. That's what we voted for. That's what we are prepared to vote for again. And I'm not talking about the individuals necessarily, you know. I'm talking about the principles that have rendered us prostitutes, eager, willing to make people rich who had no special talent before. All of a sudden, and the Integrity Commission, they control, the pimps control the Integrity Commission, they control everything. The pimps do not only control the prostitutes, the people you and I, they also control every institution that is supposed to serve the people of this country. And they don't even account. What do we know about Martinez? What do we know he was a crook. We know he was a this. But who the hell cares about who Martinez is as opposed to what Martinez is claiming? And we fool the prostitutes with that. Concentrate instead of what Martinez may have done when he was 21 or 22. Concentrate on that, but don't concentrate on how much money the pimps are making off your back. That's where we are, Tim. That is where we are. So, Richard is right. Compton is right, and I've been saying it for the longest while. Only I call them slaves. Okay? The people of this country are slaves. Rendered slaves by the people, the successive governments that deny them their rights, deny them protection. Just throwing a little breadcrumb now and then makes them happy. It's nice. It's a good move on the part of the government to ease up on the price of goods. I got that correct? Easing up on the price of goods,
yes.
Consumer items.
And removal of VAT. Mm-hmm.
So, Tim, what was it that has the government had a recent windfall?
Not to my knowledge. And if it has,
so why,
the Prime Minister has not made the announcement to that effect.
That's pretty good, too. So what is it that, is it a better late than never situation again? Is it a half a loaf is better than none? Is that what we're doing there? How long have we been complaining about the exorbitant, ever-rising prices at the supermarket and elsewhere?
Forever now, Rick. Forever. But Rick, it has everything to do with timing. And I know that some people are either watching or listening to this broadcast will take serious offense, because that's what they do. But it has everything to do with a pending general election. And the Prime Minister decided, to assuage the ire of the people, and therefore to give them that kind of relief, so that they would have forgotten that for years now people are complaining about the high food prices, and the government saying we can't do anything about it, and we're importing inflation. They talk about the 2.5%, the government is saying they can do nothing about it, and all of a sudden they are providing the people with reprieve after reprieve in the run-up to a general election.
VAT was supposed to be, we cannot do without VAT. Not even a 2% reduction. Am I correct?
Because even the previous administration was vilified for reducing VAT. It reduced
but
it.
There we go.
Yes.
And how far are we reducing it now? By what?
Big one? 12.5. It's now 12.5.
12.5.
From 15.
How much did Alan reduce it by?
By 2.5.
I mean, that was almost laughable.
And then now the government now decided to impose a 2.5% health and security levy. So you see.
It's almost laughable, but it's not laughable at all, because that kind of direction is doomsday. It's going back to the bush. And the party, man, support your party by all means. But you can support your party best by telling your party, we want you to look good. We want for all the people to benefit and keep you in office. So don't do that. We think that's wrong. It's wrong. None of that ever happens. And to make matters worse, there's no critical anything going on in the country. And so the one or two who will criticize, instead of somebody taking them on and say, well, you're wrong or you're right, that guy has to worry about being threatened with libel suits and slander suits, which they need not carry out at all, but is enough to shut the guy up. The chilling effect. People are afraid to speak their minds, and we have a right to talk, even if it is foolishness. We're telling people how we feel, and if we talk foolishness, then those who know better are supposed to offer us the comfort of verifiable truth. What do we know about the panic that's going on right now, Tim? I don't know anything. I don't know what to believe about what Trump is doing. He changes things every minute. I can well imagine the government itself is in a situation of that as well, because Trump has one policy in the morning, and by afternoon he has another one, and by the next morning another one again. I imagine, too, it depends who in the Trump administration you spoke to last, because that's what we see is going on in all the media, and even when we watch Trump ourselves, right? But that does not stop the panic of St. Lucians, illegal, even the children who were born of illegal immigrants in the States are worried, even if they're safe, they don't think they're safe. They have no reason to believe they're safe. Everybody is panicking. Nobody wants to come home. And those who are even thinking of perhaps taking a chance on going there, all of that is in panic mode. All of that with no, and I'm not even going to say comforting, an educating line or two from the politicians. And I'm not only looking for just for the government to not, the politicians who care, who are supposed to care, our pimps, they're supposed to tell us, look, man, don't worry, the cops are not going to be around that corner. I paid them off. That's how I'm talking pimple language and prostitute language, right?
Mm-hmm.
So don't worry, you can walk down Fifth Avenue. The cops won't be there, or they'll turn a blind eye. But we're hearing nothing. And when the half-assed reporters, who are not reporters, but are in fact workers for the government, these guys pass themselves off as reporters at press conferences. And they ask planted questions. And the reporters were there do not report on those reports. That's another thing that I want to suggest. That the reporters, the real reporters who go to those press conferences, ought to report on the government's reporters and the questions they asked and the answer they give, and give the whole environment. You see what is happening to our country. St. Lucia remains a beautiful country. St. Lucia remains a place anybody wants to settle down, etc., by the look of it. And then you scratch the surface, all you find is that pigsty, a covering of grass. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you so much for calling, sir. Somebody says, Rick is right. He explained well so the layman can understand. Most of the layman knows and understand, but they don't bother because it's their party that's in power. This happens on both sides. We have another WhatsApp message. Rick is so right. This whole cabinet of ministers behave so much like pimps and madams. This is the most monitored talk show in the world. Still to come, some more of your calls and your WhatsApp messages.
Prepare for the hurricane season by ensuring trees and other objects on your property won't get tangled in overhead wires. Be careful. Ensure ladders and tools don't come within 10 feet of power lines. If a tree is near electrical lines, don't try to trim it yourself. Contact Lucelec at 452-2165 or 454-6617. Be smart. Stay safe.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
It's the energy of we people, something pulsing inside. It beating every soul, a feeling we cannot. It's always pushing us forward, the limit up in the sky. There's rhythm in how we flow, a rhythm that can't be denied. It's in the feeling in how we talk. It's in the meaning in our spark. It is the thing that sets us apart. Who we are, 'cause the rhythm of life keeps bumping. Together going strong, no matter what we keep things flowing. The people we will go all in, our hands up in the sky. Celebrate and come, let your rhythm flow, 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 flow. Come, let your rhythm come, let your rhythm flow.
Calling all teens. This one's just for you. Get ready for the KFC Teen Socarama happening Saturday, June 28th from 12 to 6 p.m. at Serenity Park. It's a full day of teen talent on display. Junior soca and calypso artists, kiddie carnival bands, fashion, drama, games, and non-stop vibes. Come out and let's have some good, clean fun. No alcohol, just finger-licking goodness. So tell a friend, grab your crew, pull up to KFC Teen Socarama. See you there.
I in a good spirit. I drink in a good
St.
spirit.
Lucia, are you ready for the ultimate all-inclusive?
Chalet Blanc, the all-white event. Tier 1 now available at Frontline Ticketing, Eventbrite, Digicel Baywalk Mall, 4 Circles Ticketing, or WhatsApp at 240-344-8629. A musical journey curated by the best local and international DJs. St. Lucia Carnival Saturday, July 19th, 1 p.m. to 8 p.m.
At Sanders Golf and Country Club, Kappa State.
Look something to talk about.
Unlimited drink, brunch buffet, top-class entertainment.
Stay tuned. This event is powered by One Golden Fox and Natalie Events.
Why suffer in silence? At La Clinique de Corps, an approved universal healthcare clinic, you now have direct access to a team of internationally trained specialists from the US, France, Cuba, Venezuela, and more right here in St. Lucia. We treat chronic pain, sciatica, arthritis, lupus, nerve damage, carpal tunnel, and more with precision and care. We also offer advanced diagnostic nerve testing to detect hidden issues early before they become serious. All health insurances accepted. We assist you every step of the way. Call 451-6559 or WhatsApp 721-9950 today. La Clinique de Corps, where healing begins.
In the blink of an eye, disaster can strike. Are you ready? When the winds rage and the rain pours, will you be prepared? Don't let the next hurricane catch you off guard. At MNC Home Depot and Sunbelt, we understand the importance of preparation. From generators to plywood, we have everything you need to weather the storm. Don't wait until it's too late. Visit MNC Home Depot and Sunbelt today and make sure your family is safe and secure this hurricane season. Play it safe. Get prepared.
This is the most monitored talk show in the world. We continue with your calls at 452-2979. 452-2979, your WhatsApp calls and messages, 716-2026. Again, 716-2026. Somebody says there, good day. I think we should consider building a dry dock for cruise ships, cargo ships. Also, we should consider the south of the island or even cul-de-sac. And let's take a WhatsApp call. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air. Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tim. How are you doing?
I'm okay, caller. Good afternoon to you.
Tim, on the eve of St. Lucia, is facing a possible U.S. travel ban. One would expect that by now we would have heard from the Foreign Affairs Minister, Alva Baptiste, the Prime Minister, Philippe Pierre, or the Minister for Investment, Ernest Sele. This is serious, Tim. We're facing a travel ban. You know the repercussions or the consequences that St. Lucians can face or would face? Persons who have medical issues who would go to the United States to seek medical attention, they would no longer can enter the United States. Persons who are students, who apply for student visas, and I've been told that there's now a freeze on student visas. this is how is impacting affecting them, because some of them have already paid their tuition for college or university, and that they have been denied. Currently, they've been denied student visas. Persons with businesses and corresponding banking, this will affect them. Our tourism product, this will affect this travel ban. And not a word from this government. This thing is on, so even this travel ban situation is even reported. I was on some website in Grenada, and it's reported there. So it's all over the Caribbean. And yet still the Labour Party government, the ministers who are responsible, the Philippe Pierre, Alva Baptiste and Ernest Healy, cannot come out and make a statement. What does that tell you, team? That they don't care. Like Rick said, we have a pimp government. They don't care. This is serious. A travel ban? St. Lucia has never been placed on a travel ban in its history. What does that tell you, team, and your listeners? That this, and they were warned months ago. Mr. Philip Martinez, I'm not a fan of Philip Martinez, but he warned St. Lucia and St. Lucians. Typical reaction by the Labour Party and its hacks. They call him a fraudster. This guy was fake. He did this. Rather than focusing on the message and what Mr. Martinez was warning St. Lucia and St. Lucians about. Typical Labour Party style, to go after the gentleman's character. And the chickens are coming to roost. Today we're seeing that St. Lucia is on a potential travel. Understand what is happening, you know? That those of you with your visas will no longer be able to enter the United States. You'll only be seeing the United States of America only on TV if that travel ban takes into effect. That is serious, you know, Tim. It's serious because our credibility as a country, our image is taking a battering. And they will warn the Labour Party about the handling of the CIP program. They did not take heed. They ridiculed Alan Chastney, the leader of the opposition, when he warned them that if they do not stop the way they're handling our CIP program, these are the consequences. And you know the sad reality, Tim, and your listeners? When you critique or you criticize the Labour Party, you know the typical response again. You are an enemy of progress. Take, for example, what happened at the Barnansby. The way they treated the residents there. Those are persons who occupy those lands for over, some of them, 30, 20. You know that, Tim, you're from the area. And the way they were treated, the way they are treated currently, with disdain and disrespect. And the Labour Party and its hacks will tell you, oh, you're enemies of progress. Nobody's anti-development, but do it properly, do it humane. I'm telling you, Tim, this potential travel ban on St. Lucia has serious consequences for our students, those students who study in the United States, our tourism, persons who seek medical attention in the U.S. That travel ban will affect them, and it's very, very bad for our country. And let me tell you, Tim, this is serious times, and the government, we have to force this Labour Party government, those responsible, to come out and make a statement, because it's serious times ahead. Thank you very much, Tim.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Again, 716-2026. Lots of comments in the chat room. Unfortunately, we are without the services of Amanda today. She should be back, God willing, tomorrow afternoon. On the line, we have Senator Lisa Jawayer. Good afternoon to you, ma'am. You are on the air.
Good afternoon, Mr. Polio. Good
Yes, ma'am.
afternoon to your listeners. Thank you so much
Good
for
afternoon to
taking
you.
my call.
You're welcome.
I just heard the caller just now, and Tim, I forwarded you a clip on WhatsApp. I'm not sure if you're able to play it for your listeners.
I have not been able to.
That's all right. So over the weekend, we did see some news articles circulating about a leaked travel ban posted on the Washington Post as far as the Labour Party, because the gentleman did speak about the Labour Party. The Labour Party did put out a note earlier today, and the Prime Minister addressed it on 2 occasions this morning, earlier at the collective bargaining signing agreement and also at pre-cabinet press briefing. The Prime Minister did state that St. Lucia has received absolutely no official communication from the U.S. State Department. And of course, we are aware that today, Monday, Cabinet meets. So we are looking forward to a response from Cabinet. But in the interim, just to enlighten the caller just now, that there has been a statement from the Prime Minister, which is currently in circulation, and the Labour Party did also issue a statement. Tim, I just want to remind St. Lucians, it's advisable that we wait for official information before we jump, before we panic, or before we get scared. Of course, this is a situation that is concerning to every single one of us, and we want to ensure that our international students are able to manage this. But we also want to reiterate that if there were any restrictions, it would be, well, as far as we were made aware in that article that was released, it is for all international students. In as much as it does not list St. Lucian international students, it is for all international students, I think globally. But however, the Prime Minister and his cabinet, Prime Minister did announce that they will be swiftly looking into it further. At the collective bargaining agreement, actually, the Prime Minister indicated that one of the reasons why he was a bit late was that he just came off a call with his counterparts in Washington, and to the best of his knowledge, very early this morning, the government was advised that there is no official communication on any travel ban to St. Lucians. I can understand the need for us to want to, think of the what ifs, but I would only suggest that we allow Cabinet to sit on this today, and the Ministry of External Affairs or Education and Office of the Prime Minister should release a statement very soon. I'm only calling Tim because he did mention the Labour Party, but that's inaccurate. We did put out a statement. Okay?
Thank you so much. Just sit
Thank
there.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You just sit there from a government senator and communications officer of the governing St. Lucia Labour Party, Senator Lisa Jawayer. She made reference to a clip that is in circulation featuring the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. So we have that clip, and let's share it with the audience.
I also want to inform you that I, like most of you, read the article in the press of St. Lucia being on a blacklist. I want to inform you that we have had no official notification from the U.S. on any such matter. But we'll continue to work with our contacts and our embassies in Washington, in New York, and the Ministry of External Affairs. Will continue to explore avenues with the embassy in Barbados to ascertain whether there is any truth in the matter. We will remain engaged. The U.S. have been our friends. We continue to maintain a very high level of diplomatic engagement. We continue to work with the U.S. So we are monitoring the situation, and the public of St. Lucia will be involved. We will always speak the truth and tell them the exact nature of the story, if there is any truth in it.
Just heard there from Prime Minister Philip Japierre reacting again to media reports, in particular an article in the Washington Post which reported that the U.S. is considering expansion of its travel ban to include St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica and St. Kitts Nevis, and 32 other countries from Africa, Central Asia and the Pacific. We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to you, caller.
How are you, sir?
I'm okay. How about you?
I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
Where is Monday Lewis?
Where is?
Monday Lewis.
Monday Lewis is in the office of the Prime Minister.
And Melissa Paul.
The press secretary, yes. Monday Lewis is now the administrative attaché to the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And
Rihanna Isidore
is what? Communications officer.
So why every time some international scenario breaks out, that it always takes Lisa Jawayer, who have no connection to the government, none that I know of.
But she said, caller, she said that she was reacting primarily because the previous caller made reference to the St. Lucia Labour Party.
but it's a habit of hers. She's in no official capacity to respond to these claims. She is holding no official capacity to respond to those claims. Minister Paul is being paid by the government of St. Lucia. Monty Lewis is being paid by the government of St. Lucia. Rihanna Zida is being paid by the government of St. Lucia. She's the Labour Party's communications officer. Right? And she expects that the Secretary of State to communicate directly to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister returned about a month ago and said that from meeting the Secretary of State and said that never came up. That never came up. That was never discussed. Every time the Prime Minister comes out, he tells us that never came up. That's Labour Party, the United Workers' Party's propaganda. Now it's coming from the Washington Post, right? And from the Department of State directly. These guys saying that we have not been properly informed. So Rubio will meet with Philip Jeff, give him a handshake and say, look out, my brother, we're in for you. That's what we're expecting. That's what we're expecting. This girl must know her place. And I'm sick and tired of having this girl. Every time something breaks out, she's the one coming out. She knows about the halls of justice. She knows about Banan's land. She knows about GPH. And she holds no government official designation. She's a senator. That's it for me, Tim.
Thank you so much for calling, sir. Somebody says there via WhatsApp, is the Prime Minister saying this is fake news? 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Let's see if we have a call on the landline. In the meantime, let me go through your WhatsApp messages. Let me see there. Somebody says there via WhatsApp, Tim, there is nothing wrong with a CIP program, but there is everything wrong with this CIP program. The U.S. themselves have had a CIP program, and however, their program is more strategic and offers permanent residency before full-fledged citizenship. The programs of these Caribbean nations are agreeably a form of prostitution by allowing citizenship for insignificant returns and of no value. I think the program should be geared towards people who conduct substantial, ongoing investments, who wish to stay in St. Lucia and by extension conduct their business with more ease. Let's see if we have another WhatsApp message. Somebody says that this man is right. Why is Lisa Jarayer answering government issues? We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. NewsSpin, you're on the air. Hello. Good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello, Timothy.
Yes. Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Hello, Timothy.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
I've been trying to get you. Every time I get through, I would just be clicked off, and I wonder why. I wonder, is it your phone or something?
It's nothing deliberate, ma'am. But you're on the air now. Go ahead for your contribution, please.
No, I didn't say it was deliberate. I was asking you whether it's your phone.
I don't know.
Timothy, I was listening to one of the gentlemen who spoke about the CIP. And he was saying, he was giving a general feeling. And I think a lot of St. Lucians, we just speak, but we don't think deeper. When Kenny Anthony implemented that CIP, he was desperate. He didn't find persons coming into St. Lucia to invest. He was in dire need of money. And his last thought that the CIP would have helped. I wasn't in favor of it, but that's what he tried to bring in money to the country. I'm not against him for what he did. However, he tried to bring in money. It's the managing of it, that's the problem. The managing of it, the problem came in the managing of it. Too many bright people were managing it. Now, Timothy, then we move on. I'm going to then link this with what happened with Alan Chasney. Alan Chasney was in a desperate situation. There was a time when we were in a pandemic where he did not know where it was coming from, how it was happening. People were dying all over the world, but he wanted good for his people. And Timothy, what he did, he then probably heard of ways that he can get in what do you call them? What do you call it? The medication for our people. And so he then went into trying to get through, to get medication for us so that he could help us. And it fell through probably somehow, I don't know, that the person was paying him money and whatever, but other countries went through that same thing because they were desperate. During that time, I think after about 3 years, we have forgotten what COVID was about. We went through a period where I don't think the Labour Party would have been able to survive. I'm telling you, because you had to have good people to think at that time and don't just do things just haphazardly like sometimes what they do. However, it didn't pull through, and they are now blaming him for that up to today. In that desperate move he made to try and source medication for his people, they are still blaming him, and they're not thinking of him wanting to get the good for his people. So you see the link between what Kenny Anthony did to start the CIP and what Alan Shastney did to start to get the what they call it, it was medication, yes, but
the vaccine.
What vaccines, yeah. Right, the vaccines. Okay, so we are that level. Today, Timothy, you're not hearing nobody talking about that. Songs are coming out. We are going into a season of calypso and songs. Nothing is being sung about that. Everything is good in the country. That level where people will not be able to travel. Nothing like that is being sung. I mean, before we are being educated in song, but now no. Today now it's not being educated in song. All we're doing now is we politicizing. All we're doing now is we going around and canvassing in song, and that is wrong. And some persons will tell you, oh, but who tell you that? Who paid who? No. It's not a matter of who paid who. If a minister can tackle another one and say, I will pay you $1 million to sing the national anthem, what can't that minister pay for a calypsonian to sing a song that will tar somebody's reputation? And I think, we as St. Lucians, we need to think deeper. We're not going deeper in our thoughts, And when I sit down and I look at it, we are all humans, we fall short. But, there are things that we have to look into. We're not looking into it at all. We're looking into the petty things, but the most important things, we're not looking into it. And that CIP thing is deep. It's deeper than we think. We might even lose a lot of jobs in the hotel industry. We're doing as if we're thinking like Trump thinking above his head, and after that he realizing what's going on. So St. Lucians, please think deeper than we are, because this CIP problem will be even greater than we ever anticipated. Timothy, good afternoon.
Same to you, ma'am, and thank you so much for calling. We'll take 2 more calls. Let me see there. We have another call already via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm okay, caller. Good afternoon to you. Hello.
How can the Prime Minister say he has never gotten any information from the United States government, where the Jamaican Observer is, in a statement, the Jamaican Observer is saying that the governments which are on the ban list have up to 60 days to reply to the government of the United States. So is somebody telling you an untruth? They gave the government up to 60 days, up to mid-August, to reply to the government of the United States, saying that they can put certain things in place. So what Prime Minister Pierre saying there is I won't say he's lying, but it's completely untrue. Thank you, Pete.
Okay, thank you so much. Because again, according to the Washington Post, the memo sets a deadline of 8 a.m. Wednesday for the affected governments to submit an initial plan outlining how they intend to meet the new requirements. Again, the memo sets a deadline of 8 a.m. on Wednesday for the affected governments to submit an initial plan outlining how they intend to meet the new requirements. All right, let's see if we have any of your WhatsApp messages to go through, and then we will conclude our broadcast. Let's see there via WhatsApp. Okay, somebody says there via WhatsApp, I agree, we have to stop using the excuse that we are all humans and we make mistakes. That shouldn't mean that we are stupid, but I digress. And another WhatsApp message, somebody says, well, Rick, something not prostituting and things happening down there. This music in her background and message brings me no comfort. And the person continues, Calypsonians prostituting their service, that's all what's happening in this country. Another WhatsApp message, somebody says that can a Minister of Health, an official from the Ministry of Health, tell us what's the delay in getting cataract surgery done at the hospital? And another WhatsApp message, let's see there, somebody says that it seems our Prime Minister is not aware that President Trump does not care to do things officially. Trump seems to be conducting U.S. foreign policy through his social media accounts. Our government needs to get up to the times, and the Prime Minister needs to do everything in his power to take St. Lucia off the blacklist once and for all. And another WhatsApp message. Somebody says there, it is time we stop saying the UWP or Labour Party government. After elections, it should be the government of St. Lucia, a government for all the people. Politicians, please stop this. It is time we stop saying the UWP or Labour Party government. Okay. We will take one final call once again at 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Somebody says that good day. Even if the Prime Minister receives an official document, don't want to accuse the Prime Minister of anything that we cannot prove. Another comment. Somebody says the Prime Minister is not particularly famous for keeping us updated on matters relating to CIP. He said he did not know Emmanuel had visited Martinez, etc. Another one says, if you don't know, you'd never believe that's a Prime Minister speaking. And let's see there. Somebody says that, I am so tired of this so-called Prime Minister. Okay. And another WhatsApp message. The government officials should continue in this mode, not just when we close to elections. Tired hearing Tim asking them to call. All right, another WhatsApp message. Okay. All right, that'll do it. Let's see if we have a final call. So we'll take a final call. We have a call on the line. Let's go to it. Hello, good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Hey, team.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon to you.
You. I'll be brief, team.
Yes, ma'am.
Have we had any official word in regards to the chairman of CIP, whether he has resigned or not?
No, we haven't.
Okay, team. Well, I'm hearing rumors that he has, but like I said, as far as I'm aware, we have had no official word.
Mm-hmm.
And if our government cannot even come clear with something as simple as that, what can we expect from them, team? Something as simple as just letting us know whether or not the gentleman has retired or resigned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nothing on that. So we expect this person to be reliable and go out there and sing on our behalf, Tim.
And the question has been posed to the Prime Minister time after time. The Prime Minister, and he has not said yes or no.
And the Minister of Tourism as well. I think that question was posed to him as well. And he wanted to castigate the reporter. Up to this day, they have not told us whether or not this chairman is still operating as the chairman or not. So I do not have any confidence in this government team telling us the truth. Because by now, at least they should have told us something about that, by now. Up to this day. So what kind of confidence do we have in those people? I don't have any, you know. Anyway, and Tim, the passport again, I wonder Prime Minister or maybe Lisa, I can't pronounce her second name. Maybe she can tell us, that she seems to be the spokesperson, she can tell us when are we going to get our passport for 10 years. Is it after the election or is it before the election? So I'm sure she's listening. Maybe she can give us an update on that. I thank you, Tim.
Thank you so much for calling the passport lady. Thank you. That's our last caller. The NewsSpin question of the day. The NewsSpin question of the day reads, how will you be impacted if the U.S. imposes a travel ban on St. Lucia? How will you be impacted if the U.S. imposes a travel ban on St. Lucia? And finally, the NewsSpin news of the day. It reads, Pakistan vows to stand behind Iran, calls for Muslim unity against Israel. Pakistan vows to stand behind Iran, calls for Muslim unity against Israel. That's the broadcast. Thank you so much for watching and listening to another edition of the world's most monitored talk show. That's NewsSpin. My name is Timothy Poleon. Goodbye.